Every now and then in Hollywood land, a character that's identified as feminist will magically make his way through the production process and appear on our television screens. Unfortunately, this is almost never good. What the Hollywood machine turns out is a distorted and warped version of feminism, which bears little resemblance to actual feminist movements.
Oh, you mean actual feminist movements like this one?
Say if you're not a feminist, then you're a bigot. I mean, there is nothing in between.
Reading, fucking face, camera. I'm letting everybody else hear it, okay? It's not just for you, Mr. Entitled. The assumption that wives should make babies instead of money is part of patriarchy. Can you shut the fuck up for a second, too?
In particular, artists such as Miriam Shapiro and Judy Chicago championed what is today known as vulvic or cunt art to art historians, which can be defined as a type of essentialist aesthetic that focuses on the universal physical characteristics that all women share, their sexual organs or genitalia.
And when I point out that bitch is a gendered insult that demeans all women, again, most people get it.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Because it's basically a choose-your-own patriarchal adventure porno fantasy.
Black skin is presented as if it is a female genital, and all the violence and the abuse and the humiliation that is in general directed against female genitals is directed against the black skin of women in pornography. Asian women in this country where I live are tied from trees and hung from ceilings and hung from doorways as a form of public entertainment.
Oh, yes. I should definitely be taking you seriously now, Anita. Wow. It's like there's nothing to refute your well-reasoned arguments with.
A desperate quest to distance themselves, their plots, and their characters from anything that could in any way be mistakenly mistaken for feminism, Hollywood writers rely on one of the most deceptive and disgusting tropes ever to be forged in the fires of Mount Doom.
So, care to explain your particular brand of crazy?
That trope is called the Straw-Feminist. In television and movies, a straw feminist works by deliberately creating an exaggerated character of a feminist, which writers then fill with a bunch of oversimplifications, misrepresentations, and stereotypes to try to make it easy to discredit or delegitimize feminism.
No, the straw feminist, as indicated on tvtropes.com, your favorite place to cite your loosey-goosey logic and twisted facts. So, to speak defines the straw feminist as such: a character whose feminism is drawn out only for the purpose of either proving the character wrong or mocking them. For an example, try Benjio and Zuka Club from Koran High School Host Club. These feminist actresses who advocate female superiority at the point perform a Nazi salute against a backdrop of a red flag with a Japanese character, Onna, meaning woman, instead of a swastika. A literal example of a feminazi. Yes, I cited that right from the tvtropes.com. Suck it, Anita.
Is to make feminists and our movements look completely ridiculous, over the top, and unnecessary.
No, and 100 times no. What did I just say? A character whose feminism is drawn out only for the purposes of either mocking them or proving them wrong. Oh wait, I mean what tvtropes.com said. At least I have the high ground here, Anita, who never cites any sources.
In terms of media representation, one of the most disturbing examples of the straw feminist can be found in the 3rd season of Veronica Mars.
What she is referring to is Season 3, Episode 3, Wichita Linebacker, where the Dean of Hearst threatens to expel Veronica unless she reveals her source of a sorority article she wrote. Claire, one of the girls of the Lilith House, a center of a feminist activist, is raped. Here is where Anita really takes a shot in the ovaries and ends up shooting herself in the foot. Veronica learns that the Lilith House rape was faked. They faked Claire's rape to help shut down the Greek houses on campus.
Rolling Stone magazine is quickly backpedaling from an article it published about an alleged gang rape at the University of Virginia. In an online statement released by the magazine's managing editor, Will Dana apologized to readers, saying, quote, "We were trying to be sensitive to the unfair shame and humiliation many women feel after a sexual assault, and now regret the decision to not contact the alleged assaulters to get their account. We are taking this seriously and apologize to anyone who was affected by the story." Rolling Stone went on to say that the reporter who first ran the story, Sabrina Rubin Erdely, had no previous reason to doubt the information she received, and that, quote, "her friends and rape activists on campus strongly supported Jackie's account." The magazine does admit that they did not try and contact the men named in the accusation per the alleged victim's request. The controversial story was first published on November 19th, telling the story of Jackie, an unidentified UVA student who claimed she was raped at the Phi Kappa Psi House in the fall of 2012. The story prompted numerous protests at the college, even leading the president of the university to suspend all Greek life activities.
Characters like these serve to undermine and discredit feminist movements, but they also serve to separate female leads who are smart and strong and witty, in this case Veronica, from any association with feminism.
And why should they have to? Can't smart women not be feminists too? In fact, I argue that smarter girls typically aren't feminists, which you are not doing a very good job of refuting, Miss Sarkeesian.
The Straw-Feminist character is part of a fictional post-feminist world that only exists in Hollywood. The trope is a tool that's used to promote the fallacy that everyone is already equal.
Things are more equal than Anita would care to admit to. You have to understand that if she ever said things were good, which she is not, and she was happy, which I don't think she can ever be happy, the poor soul that has to be her boyfriend, if that really is Jonathan McIntosh, let's all weep for him, because Anita is never, ever going to be happy. Never happy. I guarantee it. But she has made white men into such a boogeyman that she can blame them for everything. And that's what she intends to do. Blame white men for everything. She'll have more than enough material. More than enough. All she has to do is point, and there's something wrong with it. And it's because of white men or patriarchy.
Exceptionally frustrating as these characters often bring up legitimate feminist concerns about women's rights and women's equality, but those concerns are quickly undermined by the writers making the characters seem over the top, crazy, and extremist.
This is because the Straw-Feminist is a mockery of sorts from my perspective. It's really just showing a mainstream movement that at its core seems very bigoted and extremist, and tossing in certain puns and mockeries for whatever reason the creators might want.
For example, the Straw-Feminist appears in Married with Children as Marcy Darcy, the irritating and pompous neighbor. In this case, the Straw-Feminist is coded as the castrating wife who emasculates and dominates her docile, stupid husband.
Married with Children is a show often with a bit of satire in it. It is shown for handling non-standard topics for its time period, 1987 to 1997. Notice how the family's last name is Bundy. This would be a mocking of Ted Bundy. Peggy Bundy, the redhead, is a stereotype about redheads being sexually promiscuous and having fiery tempers and sharp tongues. Kelly Bundy, the blonde, is a stereotype about blondes being beautiful but stupid. Al Bundy is a stereotype about men being brutish and thuggish as well as stupid, overprotective of their daughters. The entire show is plain and simple mockery of stereotypes in general, so that is a very weak example, Anita.
Repeated in Rugrats with Phil and Lil's mother, who Wikipedia describes as quite the jock and women's liber. And we can also recognize her as a Straw-Feminist because of the giant woman symbol on her sweater. Much like Marcy, she's framed as the castrating wife who barks orders at her submissive husband. In 2001's Legally Blonde, the writers threw in a straw-feminist for cheap laughs who believes that the word semester is an evil conspiracy against women.
Take the word semester, okay? This is a perfect example of this school's discriminatory preference of semen to ovaries. That's why I'm petitioning to have next term be referred to as the winter ovester.
You're really starting up examples of everywhere you can find them. But this film is based on a dumb blonde joke. It's called Legally Blonde. But this has to do more with a romantic comedy bit, where it deals with Elle's love life mostly. You really need to stop grasping at straws, Anita. You're just piggybacking off of something stupid she said and presenting it as if this is what the whole movie was about.
Take the word semester, okay? This is a perfect example of this school's discriminatory preference of semen to ovaries. That's why I'm petitioning to have next term be referred to as the winter ovester.
How does that sound odd to your feminist ears, Anita, after you have enunciated an entire sewage system of asinine crap? Roll your eyes all you want, but know when you speak, we are doing the same to you.
Another problematic example comes from the Powerpuff Girls episode Equal Fights in the 3rd season. The girls encounter a female villain named Femme Fatale, who we can immediately see is a straw feminist because she has the oh-so-terrifying woman symbol on her mask, her clothes, and even as her weapon.
This is the official description of the episode you're referring to on Wikipedia. A female villain and radical feminist named Femme Fatale teaches the girls to hate men so she can get away with crimes and steal all the Susan B. Anthony dollars in the city. Miss Bellum and Miss Kane encouraged the girls to protect everyone, including the men, after other women revealed that Fatale doesn't follow what she preaches. The girls soon teach Femme Fatale a harsh lesson for her both misandry and defamation of Susan B. Anthony for what she stood up for. And this episode was written by Lauren Floss, a woman. Judging by this episode, I say this really shows how Miss Floss views feminism. So no, Anita, this is not some straight white male boogeyman coming to screw over women. And that's coming from the woman who later created G4 My Little Pony, huh?
Traditional pan around Townsville, showing us that gender inequality is not a problem.
A city where everyone gets their fair turn.
Even boys and girls on the playground get along.
Your turn, Jenny. Think fast. Oops. Very funny, Jolly. You're gonna get it.
This right here, I think, is just Lauren Floss showing her viewpoint on gender relations, or rather her vision of it. The idea that boy and girls playing together rather than constantly being separated into boys versus girl competition is, I think, what Floss was trying to push forward. Notice how the girl acts when she gets hit in the head with a ball.
Harmonious balance is deviously disrupted by Femme Fatale and her connivingly deceptive women's rights rhetoric. Curiously though, Femme Fatale brings up some pretty valid points about the lack of female faces on American money.
You serious?
Sarkeesian acts so foolish in this so what if I cried wolf and the wolf wasn't there way, and other times so obtuse that you just know it's got to be deliberate. But then when she goes, oh, you got some good points because why not the money? That's a good point there. Why aren't there more women on money? It always sides with the villain, the feminist villain. Is that the way she sees herself? So gender representation has gone from TV to video games and now to the money?
Female superheroes in pop culture.
Surely you've noticed. Female superheroes aren't nearly as revered as male superheroes.
Sure they are. They're Supergirl, Batgirl.
They're so lame. Merely extensions of their male counterparts.
That right there is either a fatal shot at Anita's stupidity or disingenuousness. It's a death blow either way. There is no other way to look at it when A feminist claims a TV show about 3 female superheroes makes a valid claim about there being a dearth of female superheroes.
The girls are influenced by femme fatale's malicious rhetoric to see benign, routine, everyday things as a conspiracy against women and against them personally. The writers of the Powerpuff Girls have carefully created a fantasy world without gender oppression, so that they can have the girls start seeing oppression where none exists.
We saw what you did, Joey Finkelmeyer. What'd I do? Shut up! Don't play dumb with us.
I finally caught up on all the housework, and all that's left is your room. If you could take care of that, please. I'll just do it later.
Why don't you get some big, strong man to save your precious city? Or, better yet, why don't you stop making women do your dirty work and do it yourself?
Floss here is really hammering her point home right under Anita's nose, who is unaware that the writer is a woman, and she is openly mocking Anita's work at Feminist Frequency for the very practice that is designed to do, find problems that don't exist. It's funny, but Anita spoke the words, yet she could not understand them, while simultaneously believing that racism, sexism, and homophobia is everywhere. She is a walking, talking contradiction.